How's it going, people? Welcome to this week's edition of The Locker Room. And with me in the virtual studio is Mr. Danny from Kigali, Rwanda. And he's a Liverpool man, as you can see. And he's quite excited to get on about the results from the week. Liverpool has been on fire. And he's very eager as well to give me grief as an Arsenal fan. But I'm sure we'll get into that right after this intro.
Oh, he's done it! Cometh the man! And it's that one, Mathew! It's 8 goals in his last 8 Premier League starts at Emirates Stadium. Salah! Wow! What a strike by Mohamed Salah!
Ball down the channel, and it's played into Fernandes in the penalty area. Oh.
Aguero looking for the 1-2 Balotelli. He's won the title.
Haven't they? Here's Harry Kane. Kane goes for it! What a goal from in business here. Lukaku scores on second debut. It's only taken 14 minutes.
Brilliant. Welcome back from Matt. And Danny, you're welcome to the show. You can say hi.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Mathew. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. It's great to have you on the show. And of course, we will be joined by another guest within the show. And I'm sure as soon as he comes, we'll give him the due recognition and a solid intro as well. But we'll get right into it for this weekend's review show of the games that occurred last week. And there were 2 rounds of games during the week, midweek, and then another round of games over the weekend. And it was fantastic football, action-packed throughout those 4 or 5 days of football. And we look forward to many more games like that. But kicking off with our focus on Liverpool, I think due respect to you, Danny, your boys are on fire. Great results there. And, what's your take about, Mo Salah on form, Diogo Jota, and even when things became tight, your super sub there, Divock Origi, coming in to rescue at the weekend. But fantastic results. Kicking off with the Merseyside derby. What was your take on that? Everton 1, Liverpool 4. Fantastic result.
Oh man, that was a great game. That was just from the beginning, from the get-go, on fire. It was one of those. They tried to scare us a bit towards the end of first half, but man, it was one of those games where you just knew from the beginning that this one is going to be hot. And of course, even the way it started, I think the goal was quite early, wasn't it? The Henderson goal. It was a beautifully taken goal, huh? And and with everything that had happened the last time we were at Everton, Pickford and the injury to VVD. I think that last season they had taken some points from us. In a weird way, some offside, which was like, I guess it was like a nail or something. So there was a lot to play for this time. So it was a really good. Of course, we were confident because we've been having a very formidable season, like 4 from you guys, Southampton.
Nice one, Ran. Nice one.
And Everton, of course, just fell in and also received their 4. So it's been good. I can just say it's been good. Apart from West Ham, which spoiled our party a little bit, but the season has been sweet.
Yes.
Brentford, those were 2 games that I still look at with a lot of. But otherwise, it was a very nice game.
Yeah, I would say so. And of course, the other goals coming in from Mohamed Salah, as usual. Assist there from Jordan Henderson for the second goal. And brief scare there from Everton, Demarai Gray coming in to bring scores to 2-1, and that's how it ended at the break. So you really thought at halftime this was going to be a tight game, 2-1. Merseyside derby, not expecting a second half. But second half came in, Liverpool asserted their dominance yet again, Mohamed Salah getting the better of Seamus Coleman and running for quite a good length of the pitch to slot in the third goal that effectively killed off the game. And then another man on form there, Diogo Jota, latching onto an assist from Andrew Robertson as well to notch the fourth. So fantastic result there. Do you think that Rafa Benitez is in hot water? Do you see him getting the sack if he loses to Arsenal this in the next game?
No, well, the thing is, it would be really unfair for him. He's had his hands tied with Everton, and the financial issues that they're going through right now. The fair play, they can't really spend. He's really, he came into a team with his hands tied. I don't think he's been able to. He's in a team that has had so many manager changes and so many different philosophies. It seems like he really needs a rebuild, which he can't do right now. So I think it would be unfair for him unless the leadership are really scapegoat. But I think that would only compound Everton's troubles further. So I think he's a proven manager. He's done it. Liverpool. He's done it. In Spain. I think they should stick with him for a while, but they should just like Liverpool, just like it happened for Liverpool, just like it's happening for United. They should be ready to spend their years in the desert before it. Yeah.
Brilliant analysis. Now, what's your take of the other game at Watford, which was quite tough, right?
Yeah, at Wolves. That one now was
Wolves. Sorry, yes. Bruno
Watford, we also washed them like.
It was a formidable washing.
That one was even a 5-star win. No, but yeah. Well, Wolves. To be honest, Wolves reminded me of Liverpool under Brendan Rodgers, where would play the best football, but for some reason would never score. I mean, at least for the 90 minutes, it had just said no. We had tried everything. We were not playing badly. Even defensively, we were not bad at all. I think they had only 3 shots on goal or something. But somehow their game plan had just handled us. I think they're really good defensively. Wolves, of course, you have to give them that. They're really good defensively, and I think they'd come from 2 clean sheets in a row, or was it 3? And they had really locked out Salah, who has been on blazing. I think even our goal came after the defender that had been holding Salah in place got injured and right change. But that was a really tough game. I think we had a really good break with Origi. I think it was very lucky, but also very deserved, I think, because we were the better team. We had most of the chances. We deserved the 3 points. We deserved the 3 points. And how sweet it was, a 94th minute goal is almost sweeter than the whole. My man Divock Origi he's one of those guys, when you start him, he doesn't do well. When you bring him on sub, he does excellent. He's very confusing, to be honest. He's very confusing, but yeah, we deserved it, and it was a beautiful goal.
Yeah, brilliant work there from him. He actually had quite a bit to do to put that ball in the net, right? It wasn't, those crosses from Trent Alexander where he's just guiding it into the net. He had to shake his defender, make a turn, and then slot it in. So it was a really well taken goal. Of course, Mohamed Salah causing some chaos as well there on the right again to open things up for him. But fantastic goal. So those 2 wins there, coupled with the Chelsea result that we will look into later, moved Liverpool second onto the table on 34 points, 1 point behind Manchester City, who are also still flying high. We will get into their result as well, as we move along. But fantastic stuff from Liverpool. One question before we move into the next game of focus or the next team to focus on, which is Manchester United. African Cup of Nations coming up in January, February. Do you think do you think Liverpool will be able to weather the storm or the losses of Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, this is the guy Keita in midfield? Do you think? Of course, those are only three really guys who are leaving, but they're really crucial players, especially those front two. Do you think Liverpool will be able to weather that storm? Because you do have some tough games. I think you have played Chelsea, then I think there's City in there somewhere. So it's a tough run of games, and I will be interested to see. Certainly, as an Arsenal fan, I can't wait for those two to go to AFCON so that we can get a break from the formidable football, as you call it.
Well, it's going to be tough. I'm really hoping that at least Senegal and Egypt don't make it past the group stages. I know I'm in the midfield, in the midfield with Keita. I think we can handle much better if we don't have injuries, because again, I think we have a very thin squad. If you compare us to the likes of City and Chelsea that we're up against. So any loss, even like right now with our midfield, you can see already with the loss of Keita and Johnson and all these guys, we're already, thin. But for me, I think we would handle if either Salah or Mane were going. But having him go, it's going to necessitate, I think, a change of. I don't know if we'll still be playing 4-3-3. Maybe we can slot Minamino in there with Diogo and Firmino. Hopefully they'll all be fit.
Why not Divock Origi, man?
Divock Origi.
You're leaving him on the bench. Surely. Hey, Liverpool fans, your faith is fickle. Oh, no.
I'm looking at the number of games he's played 90 minutes. There's just a way, I don't know, there's just a way he gets quiet and then he's, I don't know. I think I prefer Minamino. Yeah, I think I prefer Minamino. I think he runs more, even though I think he's still learning, getting his way around the Premier League. But I think going to, was it Southampton? The when he was on loan, it showed that he could actually do, he can do well here. But I honestly think Klopp is going to go change with a change once Salah and Mane are off to AFCON. But as I said, I'll be praying that they'll be beaten in the first. I think there's many games. If you look at, I think Premier League will be having a break as well in the beginning.
There are not many games.
How many games will they be out for? I don't know how many there are, but I'm hoping there won't be many.
So if you're looking at the fixtures, from January, when they'll be out. So 2nd January, these are fixtures from 2nd January. Kick that period off with a game away at Stamford Bridge to Chelsea. And on that note, I'd like to welcome Mr. Hans. Welcome to the show, Hans.
Hi. Thank you, Mathew.
The Chelsea fan, you're welcome. And
the number one fan.
Yeah, we are hoping you Chelsea guys can do justice and silence these noisy Liverpool fans when they have informations.
No, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before we reclaim our spot. Once Mane is gone and Salah, they may come back when they're like number 4, number 5.
Brilliant. So Daniel, just to answer your question, right? So you kick off 2nd January away to Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. Then you welcome Brentford to Anfield. We all know what happened when Liverpool went to Brentford. 3-3 draw there. Was it a 3-3 or 2-2 draw? I can't recall, but it was a draw.
3-3.
3-3 draw. And then you go away to Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace. And then 9th Feb kicks off with you welcoming Brendan Rodgers and Leicester to Anfield. And then I think by 12th Feb, your guys should be back, surely. But then you go to Burnley, and then the fixtures start to ease up from there. But Leicester City, Crystal Palace, Brentford, Chelsea.
Chelsea
It's no 3 losses there.
Those are very interesting fixtures, eh? And that's if they don't even get injured at AFCON.
Exactly.
That's another thing.
No. Salah and Mane, those guys are metallic. But yeah, I like
those pitches at AFCON. They're going to come from playing. They're going to come from playing on a golf course to playing in a potato field. So I expect some challenges when they get back.
Definitely.
No, definitely. Our play will be affected. I don't think we'll be as fast and fluid as we are with both of them. Although I think lately Mane has been. It may be my little football mind, but Mane keeps slowing us down in a way I don't understand. There's something this season that's not, the way it always was. I don't know what's happening. But I mean, he gets the goals in when he needs to after wasting like 30 chances. So he's still there. But we'll definitely have to change something. I mean, if Origi or Minamino come in and Mina as well, it won't be as fast as it is now. But we'll handle. We are Liverpool, the best football team in the world.
But you're losing your 2 best players,
Exactly.
And any team which loses its 2 best players, come on.
No, I know.
It'll be shocking there. You'll be toothless.
We shall grind them out. Ask Barcelona.
No, we'll wait and see. All right, let's leave all things Liverpool there and move on to Manchester United. And at this point, if you're just tuned in to the show, welcome to the locker room right here on Top 6 Fan TV. With me in the virtual studio is Daniel Gasikes, Liverpool fan from Kigali, Rwanda, as well as Hans, a Chelsea man as well. From Rwanda, carrying the flag. Today we're flying the Rwandese flag right here on the show. It's great to have you guys on. And feel free to subscribe, like the show. And of course, we'll be happy to bring you some great content. Moving on with our review of the action from last week. Obviously, two game rounds during the week, as well as over the weekend. We did see Manchester United, next team of focus, kick off that activity midweek with I'd say comprehensive win against Arsenal, and it was a great performance in there from Manchester United. Carrick got the better of Arteta. I don't have kind words as an Arsenal fan for the way our court set up, but I'll hand the mic over to you guys. Kicking off with Hans, what were your thoughts on that game? 3-2 it ended, Manchester United winning that one.
I think it was down to who has better players. I don't think it was about tactics, really. I think it was just down to who has better players, and at the end of the day, the quality showed that if you have Ronaldo and all these other guys playing against kids, definitely at some point will show. So I think it was really down to the quality of the players.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. Danny, what were your thoughts?
No, I mean, I was surprised. You guys were back. You guys were, after we first showed you the difference between men and boys. I thought you.
No, really.
I thought you guys were. I really thought you guys were going to win this one, but I guess there's just something about those big games where even teams that are not doing well know how to. And yeah, as Hans said, I think experience at the end of the day, took the day. It was, it must have been fairly balanced, but I think experience showed it's both experience, mostly the players, because both coaches. I mean, Arteta should have much more experience than Carrick, but yeah. So I expected you guys to really win it. I was shocked.
Well, my friend, I like I said, I don't have kind words for Arteta. I think he set up the way he set the team up. To be honest, even with the selection of the squad, particularly the selection of El Neni in midfield, sent the wrong message. It looked like we were setting up to grab a draw, to damage control or damage limitation. and it was really it was really terrible because at the end of it, what are the United guys looking at there? They're looking at our recent resurgence as Arsenal, and playing with that being built off a solid defense. Of course, we do now. Our back five has been solid, together with the goalkeeper. So there's a bit of respect there creeping in for us. And if you go in to start to play with with a more defensive minded team, it doesn't really send the right message through, and it actually gives United the confidence to smell blood. So for me, I think that's what happened. We tried to play our game in the first few minutes of the first half, much like we did at Liverpool. Because remember, until about the 40th minute, there was still a bit of tension until, of course, Arteta decided to show Klopp quite a bigger biceps. Gasikes, you remember? And then, and then the cops, personally, they started singing and scaring off our players, and eventually the tide turned. But for me, I think the way our coach set up the team gave Man United too much respect. A Man United side that I didn't think were at their peak. Of course, they have obviously better players. Cristiano Ronaldo, we have to respect him. Really, we have to respect him for what he is. Scored his 800th and 800th first goal. So leading goal scorer, globally, internationally, and globally. Of course, in the Champions League, he's also a record top scorer. So I mean, this is someone who you have to respect, and I think Carrick got his tactics right, despite the controversy in that game. So it was an interesting result in there. But gentlemen, moving on to the second result that involved Man United at the weekend hands. Manchester United welcoming Crystal Palace to Old Trafford. Of course, Patrick Vieira coming to Old Trafford, the scene of many a great derby that he played in, and came to many blows with the likes of Roy Keane and so on. So he understood what this game means. Probably not a derby with Crystal Palace, but he has been on the big stage before. What do you think about how they played? They came out with a narrow victory there, 1-0 against Crystal Palace. Fred coming up with a stunner there later on in the game to snatch 3 points. You saw the Man United guys celebrated. What were your thoughts on this game compared to the Arsenal game?
It was nice to see Patrick back at Old Trafford, with all the history, and it looked like the hatred is still there for him from the fans. So it was like bringing back the old days. But getting to the game, I think he was also a bit too defensive. I
Yeah.
think he had given them too much respect. He has a lot of bright young players. He has Eze. He has Olise. All these kids were really, really good, whom he could have played, but he decided to go with a very defensive team, and I think that's what cost him. Yeah, if looking at United's defense, really, it's there for the taking for now.
Yeah.
If you have very fast players against Maguire, it's very easy to score against them. So I think Patrick Vieira killed himself. He shot himself in the foot really with the lineup. And yeah, United took their chance, and should we think they're back? It was 1-0 against Crystal Palace. I don't think really. Let's wait and see what the next 2 or 3 games say, and then we can judge them from there.
Yeah, Gasikes, what do you think about that, man? Because I think it's too early to say United are back, considering Ralph Rangnick really has not taken a full week's training session, and it will take time for him to alter or to impart his style on United. Remember, he's more of a gegenpress advocate, and that is not traditionally the way Man United play, the Man United way. So it will take time to actually embed that in his squad. But that notwithstanding, ever since our man Ole left the wheel, how we wish he was still at the wheel, but ever since he left the wheel, United have drawn with Chelsea, beaten Arsenal, and beaten Crystal Palace, so they're unbeaten in 3 games. And with that, they have started to now rise up the table. from I think it was 8th place when they were beaten Solskjaer's last defeat. They had now moved on to 6th place after those 2 wins. They're a point above Arsenal, 7th. How the table stand? Last weekend, Arsenal was 5th, and looking at getting past West Ham, 1 point behind West Ham to get to 4th place, and now we're all the way back to 7th. A tricky game at Everton awaits, which is being played, in a short while. But that notwithstanding, do you think Man United can continue this momentum with Ralph Rangnick and actually start to cause a problem for the top 3?
Yeah, well, I didn't watch this game, but I'm actually afraid. I think he gets a lot of stick from the United fans, so it was good to see him get a goal there. I fear for what Ralph Rangnick will bring, but I am hoping that just like it happened at Liverpool when Klopp came, that the dramatic change of football styles will first shake them before it stabilizes. So I'm hoping this season that they will not be able to get a good football going. The pressing requires a lot from the bodies. I don't know if people like Pogba will be willing to do the running. People like Ronaldo willing to do that running. I think they have some young, promising guys but even some of the young guys just don't press, They're strikers.
Looks like Fred is undoing all the running currently. He's doing the running for the team.
Him and McTominay.
Those guys may get the stick to being the main guy as well. So it will be ironic to see how the team is built around, if that's what if that's what the new coach will want. But I'm hoping that they'll take a while to stabilize. I know eventually he's going to obviously bring the best out of them, but with the squad he has, of course, the mindset change is going to take a while. So yeah, for me, as long as Manchester United keeps getting beaten, I'm good.
You and me both, my brother. You and me.
Add Arsenal there, and then I'm okay.
No, Arsenal. Sorry for that. Plus, my wife supports Arsenal, so I'm soft on them.
Yeah, okay. Gasikes, you might sleep outside. If you continue unregulated Arsenal banter. You might just sleep outside. But anyways, Hans, moving on to your beloved Chelsea. I'm kicking off with the game, the latest game on Saturday. The loss, West Ham coming up 3 winners. Of course, West Ham's stadium, I think the City of London Stadium it is becoming a fortress, right? We did see Liverpool also lose 3-2 there. David Moyes has organized this team. I don't know what Man United fans were thinking about doing away with David Moyes. Can you imagine how far they would be if they still had David Moyes at the helm? Anyway, he is definitely showing a lot of the just the potential that Sir Alex Ferguson had belief in when he chose to have him replace him at Old Trafford. Of course, that spell did work. He wasn't given the time. There's too much pressure to continue the success, and he was gone. But I mean, what a result here! 3-2. Of course, Edward Mendy did have a bit of an off day at the office, which is very unusual. We know that he has often had quite a fantastic run of results for Chelsea in there. But the goals coming in from Thiago Silva and Mason Mount for Chelsea. Mason Mount also, who has had a resurgence in form of late. But Manuel Lanzini, Jared Bowen, and finally Arthur Masuaku still in it with 3 minutes to go of normal time for West Ham. What were your thoughts on that game, Hans, in particular?
I think it was, I could see it in the making, right from the game against United. We drew against a very toothless United. Then we luckily win against which one was it? Just before was it?
It was Watford.
Watford 2-1 against Watford. And by the time we reached West Ham, really, I didn't have that confidence which I've had the whole season. And I think it's down to several changes which Thomas Tuchel has been making. He hasn't really had a standard 11 for like the last 5 matches. Today Loftus-Cheek is starting. Tomorrow it is Saul. Tomorrow it is Jorginho. Then the front players, you have ZH, you have Mason Mount, you have all these guys coming in and going out. So it's causing a lot of instability. Yeah. And again, I don't know, it's down to there's so many matches they have played. We are starting to see a lot of errors happening in the defense, in the midfield. So I really wasn't surprised. When I watched the game and I saw the lineup, I was kind of expecting. I wasn't very confident that we would win the game. Well, we played well. I would say we still played well. Yeah, given that it was West Ham and seeing how West Ham has been playing this season, I still feel we played well. It was just down to one or two errors, which cost us the game. But yes, I feel like it was a good wake-up call for Chelsea. Maybe we were starting to become a bit taking it for granted. So I feel like it was a good wake-up call. Maybe Tuchel will now bring back the hard pressing and the game that we've gotten used to. So I think it was good for us. As the matches pile up now, we can get back in the mood and start beating up on the different guys coming up.
Brilliant. Danny, what were you? Yeah. So Danny, what were your thoughts around that? Because I feel, of course, just like Hans has mentioned there, Tuchel, tinkering with the squad for quite consistently over the last couple of games. But one, he has a squad in depth. He has a squad depth to do that. But I think he is suffering from, just like we're saying with Liverpool, you'll have two crucial players leaving for African Cup of Nations. I do feel Chelsea have been missing three crucial players. I know Romelu Lukaku has not been firing of late, but once he settles, I think he'll come good, and he has been injured. He did come on for this game, but you could see he was quite rusty. And even Thomas Tuchel in his post-match conference did mention that, post-match interview, did mention that Lukaku was half fit and not really ready to go along. But the two cogs in midfield there then have been a key driver attacking-wise and also defensive-wise, and helping them to win the midfield battles there have been Kovacic and N'Golo Kante. So if you remove those two out of Chelsea's midfield, I think if you start comparing Sol Niguez, Ruben Loftus-Cheek to them, then you start to lose a bit of what they offer in terms of the quality that those two players have. So for me, for my analysis, I think that is what I see missing from Chelsea. Daddy, I don't know what you thought about that, and do you feel that Chelsea are going to continue to suffer this, or do you see them coming back strongly in their next game, which is obviously a Champions League game against Zenit St. Petersburg away, but in the Premier League, they'll welcome Leeds to Stamford Bridge?
I think first of all, I think Mendy's back got tired from carrying the team.
That's a good one. Right?
Come on.
He couldn't stretch.
These guys over and over and over. And I think yesterday, I'm tired.
Come on. We have the best defense. So
no, I look back at, was it Brentford? There was a game where the guy just single-handedly decided, I'm not going to let these goals.
That one I accept. Yeah.
No, he's human.
Oh, by the way, speaking of that, Danny, just before you continue, let's not forget Edouard Mendy is also going for African Cup of Nations. So once you throw in Kepa and maybe assistant coach, I don't know whether you start assistant goalkeeper, whether you start to throw in Ruben Loftus-Cheek in goal, I don't know. But Daddy, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I know that game. So I think I was reading somewhere that guys may try to negotiate some, just give us a few more hours so that this these three guys can play, and then they'll come, with private jet. I don't know how possible. Yeah, I think I'll just give the credit to West Ham more than Chelsea. Yes, the changes, but I think you guys, there's so much quality in the Chelsea team. The changes may, disorganize them a bit, but I think credit to West Ham as well. They've done it. They've stressed teams this season. They're just flying. And man, when they get you, they really, they can really do you harm. So for me, it's just credit to West Ham. I think Chelsea will obviously bounce back. I think they have, as you said, the squad depth is really huge. They're all really good guys. Thomas Tuchel is a very amazing, brilliant manager. Although in relation to the title, I'd still give it to City over Chelsea. I think they still have, of course, Liverpool, and then City.
I was about to ask what happened to Liverpool.
Hey, what happened to Liverpool? Even me, I was going to ask.
No, Liverpool, of course, but it's too thin. For me, that's the thing that scares me. Our squad is too thin. If we get injuries now in the midfield, then you'll see names you've never heard of, guys from academy. So for me, I feel like if we stay fit, we're good. But that's such a huge risk to take. But otherwise, yeah, Chelsea will do well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Hans, finally, before we move on from Chelsea, Romelu Lukaku's back. Timo Werner is back, although he looks like he's wearing, he has two left feet. I don't know what's going on.
Let us not count Werner. Let us not consider him.
I don't know the direction of his foot, where it's facing. Outside the stadium.
Liverpool saw through that fraud.
As much as I love the guy's team spirit, I just don't know what he's doing on our team. Seriously, it's just
it's troublesome. I think they should take him. Man United should buy him, since their coach Ralph Rangnick once worked. Coached him to and turned him into a solid striker. So maybe he would have good luck. But with he still does offer something, especially pace-wise on the left, where he likes to. And it has actually been touted in some circles that maximizing Timo Werner output and contribution to the attack is much better when there's a solid front man leading the attack in the mold of Romelu Lukaku. So do you think with those two returning, as wait for N'Golo Kante and Kovacic, will start to give Chelsea a bit more bite in their attack?
Yes, definitely. With any team with Lukaku, I feel like you have an advantage over anyone. He's proven when he was in Everton, to United, to Inter Milan, that he's really a top striker. But to me, like you said, I think my biggest priority right now, if you ask me, it would be in the midfield. If you can get Kovacic or Kante back, we can still be able to win. Even when Lukaku wasn't around, we were winning 3-0, 4. The goals were coming. Of course, Lukaku brings in something, a different dimension. With his pace, with his energy, he can change the game. But I feel like the number one priority right now would be for us to get back either Kovacic or Kante. Yeah, I feel like, with their mobility, with the way they cover ground, Loftus-Cheek is not able to do that. Neither is Ross Barkley, neither is Saul. So we're really struggling in the midfield. But definitely Lukaku, he's a very welcome. It's a very welcome back, gift for us in this period when the fixtures are piling up and all these games. So that we need for switching a bit here and there.
Yeah, and as you can see from the visual right there, as Danny called out, Edward Mendy is back being weighed down by tired.
Come on.
But anyway, let's move on from Chelsea. Of course, we do see they still have a formidable attack by the Pulisic, Ziyech, Mason Mount. You do have the attacking flair in midfield to cause teams havoc there. But the masters of that, as you can see, Zayek, they are also fantastic player. The masters of that currently are Manchester City, who are a team on fire. We thought, I mean, if you compare them to the other traditional top six teams, as we call it, or even let's say the top 10 teams in the Premier League, would they fire without their top striker? We have seen what has happened to the likes of Everton without Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the likes of Arsenal with Aubameyang not firing, the likes of Spurs with Harry Kane off form. But these guys without a striker are just on fire. Gundogan, Bernardo Silva is back to his form of about 2 seasons ago, where he was actually named Player of the Season for Manchester City by their fans. Danny, what are your thoughts on these guys? The midweek game, first of all, they went to Aston Villa, who are doing well under another Liverpool legend, Steven Gerrard, and beat them 2-1. It was a tight game, but they still came out with the points. Goals coming in from Ruben Dias there and Bernardo Silva. And then, obviously, they followed that up over the weekend with a 3-1 mauling of Watford at Vicarage Road. Again, Mr. Bernardo Silva coming in with a pair of goals, and then Raheem Sterling, who's also starting to nick in with the goals, another ex-Liverpool player coming in with the results. So those 2 wins there take them to the top of the table as Manchester City on 35 points, 1 ahead of Liverpool. But Danny, what are your thoughts about these guys? Can they be stopped? Who is going to stop Manchester City?
You guys, these guys are bad news. I think in the beginning, when they were just getting to play without a striker at the beginning of the season, that was our chance for the rest of us to take advantage. But I think the rest of us decided later on to just mess up. And now, to be honest, I don't know what it would take to stop City. Take some random small teams that just come out of the blue like Leeds and just decide to shock them. Maybe we'll shock them again. I don't know. Now they're just playing so well, and their squad is just so, even beyond shot, their squad is, all the guys sitting on the bench, and you're still scared like before they come on. Guardiola is genius. Even with injury, but small teams will, if random small shocks them. Looking at it,
Brilliant. And Hans, your thoughts on Manchester City? It was tweeted that your Chelsea team has the same amount of squad depth as Manchester City. Can you survive without a striker?
Manchester City, I think I say Guardiola is the best manager I've ever seen, because the way this guy does it, I don't know. 2 seasons ago, it was De Bruyne. Last season, it was Gundogan. Now it is Bernardo Silva. Like, he keeps, somehow bring up a different player every season who becomes something. And, now no one expected Bernardo Silva to be carrying the team.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, people are saying he should be like player of the season already. So it's crazy. And then looking at Cancelo, he's playing on a different side of the pitch from where he should be playing, and he's giving diagonal passes and assists, and it's just crazy how he organizes his team. But I still feel, I still feel like Liverpool poses a greater threat. I feel like in terms of the first 11, Liverpool has the strongest 11. Yes, City may have the depth like Chelsea, but I still feel like if Liverpool's 11 can remain healthy, they still have I believe the trophy is theirs to lose.
Yeah.
City, looking at City right now, Sterling, I don't think is that. Yes, he's good, but I don't think he's really, the likes of Mane or Salah. Jesus, the same. Grealish, I don't know how they bought him for 100 million. I still feel like, they're not that much of, individually, they're not the best players, but as a team, they're very good.
Yeah.
And that's where Liverpool beats them. In terms of individual players, they're really good, and as a team as well, they're really good. So I feel like if Liverpool can maintain the health of the team, they can still win it. They can
Yeah.
still City. Yeah, I feel like if they lose Ruben Diaz or Cancelo, there is a chance. There's a chance for us to nick one or two games away from them.
Yeah, I think so. I think they will drop the odd point, but they're definitely going to be a force to reckon with, as you can see, from
Yeah.
defense to attack. Let's not forget they also have a very solid defense, very good goalkeeper. So these guys are the full package. I'm looking at this photo, and it has just reminded me, on a side note, how the Premier League is actually contributing to building Portugal's golden generation. I think it will be a fantastic World Cup for Portugal if they can make it out of the playoffs.
Will they make it?
The playoffs. But I mean, if you look at the team on paper, these two
Yeah.
guys are a team. You have Manchester United, you have Bruno Fernandes, you have
Wolves.
Cristiano, you have Diogo Dallo.
Jota.
Uh, Arsenal, even Tavares, the revelation at left back for Arsenal is
Oh,
Portuguese. So you can imagine the team, and of course, the rest of the team is the Wolves' squad, as you know. They're baby Portugal, as you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, kudos to Manchester City. They're doing fantastic. And as you can see, Bernardo Silva, Raheem Sterling, keeping them flying. And this is without their super striker, Mr. Kevin De Bruyne, playing. He's out, of course, injured. He has had injury issues this season. But when he comes back, he will, of course, be a force to reckon with. And Jack Grealish, I think, is going to need a season to settle in. Next
Yeah.
season, I think, is going to be become the other player who will cause issues for them. But moving on to Spurs now, Spurs, much like United, are a team on the up. Antonio Conte was actually the manager, apparently, that Manchester United would have wanted to sign, but they ended up with Ralph Rangnick. And so kudos to Daniel Levy for bringing Conte on board, and he has turned that. He's turning the table slowly by slowly. We haven't seen Hurricane fire on all cylinders, and I think that is going to be because I mean, if Hurricane starts scoring the way we're used to him scoring, I think that top between sixth, fifth, fourth position is going to be very interesting. I think those three spots are up for grabs. Liverpool, City, Chelsea, top three, I think is more or less guaranteed. But the next three places between West Ham, Spurs, Man United, Arsenal, and any other outsiders that may crush the party, like maybe let's say Leicester City, depending on how they play, will pose a challenge. But Danny, what are your thoughts on Spurs and Antonio Conte? They have now moved to fifth place on the table, and with a game in hand over West Ham. So if they win that game in hand, they'll actually be fourth. So
Yeah.
it's actually a very interesting. The table is shaping up quite nicely in the Premier League.
No, it is. It is. I mean, everyone knew Antonio Conte would bring their players. The management situation well, they're really good players, and I'm not surprised, to be honest. Proven, and we all know what he can do. So it's good to see them back. I think it creates a good competition for the rest.
Good
I
stuff.
think.
Good stuff. Danny, I'll cut you there. I can hear your connectivity is skipping. I think it's must be handled by the people at Merseyside. I don't know what network that is. But anyways, Hans, your thoughts on your London rivals as well.
yeah.
Spurs there. They're under the radar. They're creeping up the table. And
I
under the
like
manager Antonio Conte, you don't expect them to start going 3-4 losses on the trot to drop below the table. So as an Arsenal fan and direct, of course, CS rival, I'm quite worried about their results.
I actually feel like I feel Spurs has a stronger squad than Arsenal. Looking at the players they have, I feel like they have a stronger squad than Arsenal and more mature. And now they even have a better coach. Yeah. So I believe the fourth position is for them. For them,
Man
it's just
United.
United still has a few issues to solve,
Mm,
but I feel like Spurs already they're starting to click and once having had Conte at Chelsea, I know how it works. The
mm,
moment they start, it will be like a well-oiled machine, just clearing everything in their way. So
mm,
actually, we should be worried of Spurs.
mm.
Luckily, at least there's some gap between us and them, but I feel like we should be worried because
Yeah.
imagine
Mm,
if Hurricane starts scoring, you know, and you have Son, you have the pace of Lucas Moura. It's just a matter of time. It's
yeah.
just a matter, and it's very welcome for me who is a diehard hater of Arsenal. Then I know at least the fourth position is not theirs. So at least I know the fourth is for Spurs.
Hans, I think we'll leave that. We'll leave the banter there. I can see how you and Danny getting ready to start hammering us as no fans. So we'll actually end the show right there. On that note, gentlemen, thank you for joining and thank you for coming over and being part of the conversation today, right here on the locker room on Top Six Man TV. We look forward to having you on the show next time, and do have a great rest of the week and. God bless you. You take care.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
thank you very
Bye
much.
bye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.